This company recycles old fire hoses into handcrafted luxury bags and accessories, and it donates 50% of its profits to the firefighters' charity.
It all started, I suppose, in 2004 when I first moved to the UK and I discovered that 100 million tons of waste was going to landfill every year. And I wanted to go and see what that was like, so I did an exploration of lots of different landfill sites. And then I discovered the fire hose and I had a chance meeting with the London Fire Brigade.
Elvis & Cressy was established in 2005 in London after Cressy realised that the London Fire Brigade was throwing away between 3 and 4 tons of fire hoses every year. Fire hoses are thrown away once they have reached the end of their health and safety life, or when they are too damaged to be repaired.
The really interesting thing about the fire hose material is that nitrile rubber, which is a synthetic high grade, wonderful material that was obviously designed to be heat resistant, water resistant, has a whole life ahead of it. Just because it's no longer usable as a hose doesn't mean it can't be used for luxury accessories.
So together with her partner Elvis, Cressy started a partnership with the London Fire Brigade and promised that they would soon save all of their waste fire hoses and donate 50% of their profits back to the firefighters' charity.
Since we started Elvis & Cressy, we have rescued almost 200 tons of material from going to landfill. So we've insured and diverted 200 tons. Now, a lot of that is made up of fire hoses, but it is equally made up of the other materials that we collect: coffee sacks, tea sacks, leather waste, etc. But the bulk of it has been fire hose. And every fire hose weighs about 22 kilos, between 18 and 22 kilos. So you know that we collect and have collected over the years an awful lot of fire hoses.
Elvis & Cressy collects waste fire hoses from the London Fire Brigade approximately 4 times a year.
The average fire hose is a 10 centimetre diameter, but it's lay flat hosing. And there are these 2 baked in curves at the edges of the fire hose. The first thing we do is we have to remove those curves because you can never straighten that material at the edge. Once that's done, you have 44 meters of material because a 22 meter hose becomes 44 meters. Then you can clean the hose because often it's as dirty outside as it is inside. Then we decide, is it going to be for belts or straps, or is it going to be for textile? Belts and straps, we can largely leave it as is. For textiles, we have to do another 2 further cutting and splitting processes to make it ready for use in bags. Then we cut the pattern pieces, then we make it into whatever product we might be making. We spent an enormous amount of time doing research and development in the early days, and that's because everyone in the luxury accessories industry is incredibly familiar with leather and they have absolutely no idea how to use fire hose. So when we went to various potential manufacturing partners, most of them told us to leave because they weren't interested in using the fire hose. It didn't fit with their production techniques. It didn't match with their equipment.
Elvis & Cressy went on to develop their own equipment and machines, and most importantly, they learned how to treat and sew a fire hose.
To convince people that waste fire hose is a luxury material is also an uphill battle because not just the manufacturers are used to leather, but the customer is used to leather as well. And the idea of introducing such a novel material was very difficult, particularly in the early years. You've got to think back in 2005, there wasn't such an emphasis on sustainability.
The company started out in a house share in Brixton, London, and it has slowly expanded into a crafts-heavy team of 18 people. It is now based in the Kent countryside in a rescued 19th century flour mill. The business is built on 3 core principles: rescuing, transforming, and donating. And it does all of that across its products and packaging. And the company doesn't just rescue fire hoses. It also saves and recycles 15 other materials and combines them into its luxury products. One of these is leather.
When we set out to solve the fire hose problem, we achieved that in 5 years. The leather problem is 80,000 times bigger. So not just my immediate future, but my mid-range future is definitely going to be about solving this leather problem.
For the past 5 years, Elvis & Cressy has been working with the Burberry Foundation in order to recycle the 9 tons of leather waste Burberry produces every month.
I think the really amazing thing that's happened in the UK since I came here is that there's been a dramatic improvement in recycling and the treatment of resources and the revaluation and the redefinition of waste. So when I arrived, it was 100 million tonnes of waste that went to landfill, and now it's 40 million tonnes. 40 million tonnes is still totally appalling and unacceptable, but it's a dramatic reduction. I've been doing green projects pretty much since I was 22 years old, so I'm 42 now. I guess that's the last 20 years. So I think it's kind of an obsession, but really there are so many materials going to landfill and being wasted. I don't see the rationale for generating new materials. Not when in volume all of these wonderful materials are available to us.